What's up, guys? I just recently ditched my Mac Mini home theater PC in favor of an NVIDIA Shield Android TV. The Shield is a constantly improving Android device that has the ability to run the Plex Media server, view and record live TV with the help of an HD Home Run tuner, and runs all sorts of awesome apps, including Amazon Video. Now, fair warning to the new or aspiring cord cutter, this setup requires quite a bit of effort. Also, it's not cheap. However, considering the price of my Mac Mini, or at least what I could sell it for on eBay, and the price of the new Shield, the HD Home Run Extend, the external storage, and the fact that I'm already a Plex Pass subscriber, I thought this was a no-brainer. I'm very satisfied with the finished product, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. There were some surprises and setbacks that I ran into while setting up the Shield as an all-in-one media device. I'll show you the setup with a heavy focus on those issues I had, so that you can hopefully avoid the same pitfalls if you're in the process, or if you're contemplating taking on this challenge. Here's a quick overview of the equipment I have and you'll need to replicate my setup. First, you need an NVIDIA Shield Android TV. Check. Next, you need some external storage. Check. Then you need an HD Home Run Network DVR device. Either model will do, but the Connect and Extend will be applicable to this setup. Check. And finally, you need a computer or tablet to access the Plex server interface. Check. Alright, let's get into the setup process. First and foremost, it's important to know that there are two different NVIDIA Shield devices, the Shield and the Shield Pro. The Shield comes with 16 gigabytes of internal storage, while the Pro version comes with 500 gigabytes. As I've mentioned before, I'm not a big gamer, so I didn't need the Pro version. Not that it's any faster, I just don't need the space to store a lot of games. However, because I wanted the Shield to serve as a DVR, I did need more than 16 gigabytes of internal storage. Luckily, you were able to make external drives internal, and that's exactly what I did. My first step was to buy some storage. I got a 128 gigabyte thumb drive and a 2 terabyte external drive. I wanted enough space in the Shield for the live TV recordings, and I wanted a dedicated media drive to which I could add files at a later date. Why two separate storage drives? Great question. DVR recordings can only be stored on dedicated internal storage, but converting a drive to internal storage means that it can no longer be used as a standard USB storage device, meaning that you can't unplug that device and plug it into a computer to add media later, hence the two storage devices. So I mapped the thumb drive as internal storage. Surprisingly, that process took a really long time. Expect that mapping external storage as internal storage will take at least 20 minutes. It may not take that long, but don't be surprised if it does. Then I connected a 2 terabyte drive loaded with my movies and TV shows. I formatted that drive as exFAT before loading it with my media. Before moving on, I want to take some time to discuss some alternative storage options that I explored and the issues associated with those. If you don't have an external hard drive you can plug into the Shield, you could always use your current network storage. For instance, I had plenty of space on my Mac to store my files, but accessing your Mac storage from your Shield can be challenging. You must go into System Properties, Sharing, ensure File Sharing is checked on the left under Service. Ensure there's a check by Share Files and Folders using SMB, then enter your account's password. Without performing this step, you're in for a headache. But this setup kind of defeats the purpose of having a Shield as both a server and a front end, because your Mac is still serving files to your Shield server. It's a server for a server. Probably not the most speedy option. SMB shares are way easier on Windows machines, as SMB is enabled by default. Your other option is to get one large hard drive and format the whole thing as internal storage on the Shield. In this case, the only way to add files to your Shield is to add them over the network from, say, your Mac. To do that, you must enable the Plex server, which I'll cover later, and restart your Shield. It's very important that you restart your Shield. I didn't do this at first, and I nearly lost my mind trying to figure out why I couldn't share my Shield folders over the local network. Then you go into Settings on your Shield, Storage and Reset. Under Shield Storage Access, click Over Local Network and copy down your Shield's local IP, username, and password. After that, on your Mac, go to Finder, Go, Connect to Server, add the IP address starting with SMB:// as shown here, click Connect, and although not shown here, you'll have to type in the username and password you wrote down earlier. Then click your internal storage from your Shield, and that's it. You're done. Once I had all my storage all set up, I went and enabled Plex in the Plex server. Enabling Plex Media Server on the Shield is as easy as opening the Plex app for the first time. It will prompt you to sign in if you already have an account, and will give you the option to enable Plex Media Server. Once that's done, you can go to the Plex website and launch the web interface to start adding your media. Okay, so to recap, I set up my storage, enabled Plex and Plex Media Server on the Shield, then loaded all my media. And with a few exceptions, all that was pretty straightforward. But I also needed to enable the DVR functionality, and that process was somewhat vexing for a few different reasons that I'll get into presently. The HD Home Run line of products is great for myriad reasons. First, they are compatible with a host of different devices and software. Also, the products are well tailored for your needs. The Connect and Extend are great for folks like me who don't have cable but want to watch over-the-air network TV. The Prime is good for those who still want cable but don't want to have to rent the cable company's equipment. Basically, one of these things will transmit your HD antenna signal over your home network to be viewed by whichever device you choose. I already had my HD Home Run Extend set up and connected to my network, but for those that don't have one of these, it's a pretty simple setup. Simply connect its power cord, connect it to your cable box or antenna output, then connect it to your router. The Extend doesn't need to be connected to your router, but I recommend doing so. The next step is to download the beta version of the Plex Media Server software, which allows DVR functionality. This beta version is only available to Plex Pass subscribers, so make sure you have one of those before attempting to do this. Getting the beta software is straightforward enough for a PC, but for Android, you've got to go through Google Play. That doesn't sound very difficult, but for some reason when I did this step, it took more than a day for the Plex Media Server app to be updated to the beta build. I don't know if the Shield required a restart or what, but don't get too frustrated if it doesn't work right away. Walk away from it for a few hours, come back, walk away for a day, then come back. This update can be finicky. Did I mention this was a beta build? So once the beta build was available, it was time to set up the DVR. Well, that was a bit of a pain as well. I started setting it up, but it didn't scan any channels at first, so I restarted the Shield and the setup went smoothly from there. After all the channels were scanned, I went into the tuner settings and unchecked the broadcast stations that I didn't care about. Remember before when I mentioned the different storage options? This is where my external storage decision became particularly important. My TV folder was located on my external drive, which I can plug and unplug from my device at my whim. However, as I mentioned before, TV recordings can only be made to internal storage. As you can see, the Shield didn't allow me to record this program because my TV folder wasn't on an internal drive. So I had to add another TV folder located on internal storage, then add that folder to my TV library within Plex. Confused yet? I know, it's complicated, but that's why I'm here, to make sense out of the confusion. Notice that adding that internal folder didn't immediately take effect. I had to cancel the recording, then add it again. And apparently, a recording in process doesn't leave any breadcrumbs in the destination folder until the recording is actually complete. Now that my DVR was set up, I added some of my favorite shows to record and some other shows for test purposes. Some of my shows recorded just fine, some of them didn't. For some reason, the Oscars wasn't the Oscars, and Jimmy Kimmel Live was not that at all. So I went into the DVR settings and noticed that I had two different channels labeled as the ABC affiliate. I did a quick Google search for the accurate one, and then went into my DVR settings and corrected it. As an additional sanity check, you can specify the station for a recording. There are other advanced recording settings that can be tweaked inside Plex that I won't go into here. Okay, so I've shown you my setup and my setbacks for making the NVIDIA Shield an all-in-one Plex Media Server. There are some other issues not related to my setup that I'll highlight here. First, the DVR is great, but you must set up those recordings on your computer. This can't be done through the Plex interface. To watch live TV, you must use a separate app, which isn't difficult. There are at least two that are free and easy to use on the Shield. Next, I have no idea why I can't enable remote access to my Plex Media Server on the Shield. I have no issues adding remote access to my Mac Plex server, but the Shield server doesn't want to play along. Perhaps an issue for a different day. And finally, Plex Media Server for Shield doesn't allow for the addition of the unsupported App Store. This is because you need root access to the Plex Media Server folder, and you can't get root access to this Android device as of yet. total drag. But that's what Kodi is for, so don't let that be your barrier to entry. Okay, that's it for this video. Please let me know what you think. I'd love to hear any suggestions you have, perhaps some issues you've run into during your setup, or even any recommendations you may have for me vis-a-vis my setup. Please like, subscribe, and comment freely. And as always, thanks for playing along. Hey, if you like that, watch these and subscribe for more stuff.